I was this close to just not reviewing this episode. For the past 5 weeks, I feel like I had far too much faith in Chibnall because I enjoyed Broadchurch and some episodes of Torchwood. But when it comes to the top job, I had a good long think and realised that not one of the episodes he wrote for Doctor Who prior to Series 11 was any good. I'm just throwing this out there because I really want to know why he, of all people, was picked for showrunner. The even bigger question perhaps that needs asking is who else would be able to pick it up and top the last 13 years of Doctor Who? Because I sure as hell can't think of anyone, but we need somebody to save the downward spiral that has been this year's series thus far. So let's see if Vinay Patel has anything to offer to the series, seeing as he's the first to be given a writing slot without the influence of Chibnall this year. Supposedly. Demons of the Punjab feels very much like the episode Father's Day, to the point where it's uncannily similar. It starts off with Yaz begging the Doctor to take her back in time to see her nan getting married. It takes only about 10 seconds for the companions badgering her to just give in to mob rule and take them back in time. I know the Doctor is a centuries-old being, but I love how short a memory she has. This no interfering rule she creates just gets chucked out the window by dint of showing up in Pakistan 1947 and by all the other meddling she gets up to there. It was nice that Yaz did call her out on her BS in the episode, but the problem seems to be more with the Doctor travelling to the past in general over the past few years. All these stories where history must be preserved that always includes an alien that quote-unquote shouldn't be there, but her assurance that she herself isn't the alien that shouldn't be there is what troubles me the most. One day somebody's gonna banish you from Earth for meddling with the past like you did this week. The weirdest part is the present isn't altered whatsoever. In the Father's Day epilogue, Jackie explains to Rose that there was a girl there for Pete, so time had sort of been rewritten. In Demons though, you'd have thought the butterfly effect would have changed at least something. How come her nan doesn't remember seeing Yaz on one of the most memorable days of her life, no matter how much she tries to suppress it? Speaking of her nan, the first scene with Umbreen was absolutely terrible. She proclaims to be the first woman to do this, the first woman to do that, but I don't know why you would be saying this to your family. Surely if they'd spent enough time with you over the years, they would already know all this. If Umbreen had shown up to the flat for the first time in Yaz's life, this scene would make perfect sense, but they're celebrating her birthday like they've been doing it for years. The Doctor and crew then travel back in time where the first positive thing arises: the setting. There are some nice exterior shots scattered throughout the story, and I enjoyed that it takes a look at a part of history that not a lot of people know about. It's also important to know because the Indian borders are poorly defined in places like Kashmir and Bangladesh to this day. The actual contents of the history, however, are left to people just moaning about it instead of seeing it firsthand like we did in Rosa. Most of this episode is boring and has very little conflict besides the quarrelling brothers archetypes we see played out by Manish and Prem. When you think of partition and millions of people dying, you would expect at least a bit of scope for the horror that's about to unfold. Maybe the airing before 9 PM rule prevents any real exploration of this time period, but at least make it interesting for goodness sake. The only lesson I took from this episode is, division is bad, we must all stay united together forever and ever, amen. The best example of this was when Umbreen had that little monologue about being uncertain of her own nationality, and this uncertainty resonates with the modern world and its obsession with identity. The music played into this quite well, as atmospheric Indian music is heard playing throughout the episode. I have to say though, the music wasn't exactly memorable in any way, and I wouldn't be surprised if they just put the word Indian into a royalty-free music site and just slapped it in there. I enjoyed seeing these characters being bitter towards the Brits. It's historically accurate for sure, but it was a shame this aspect was kind of ignored after the team's first encounter with Prem. Once again, Ryan and Graham haven't got a clue what's going on, but they might as well not have even been in this episode. It was really weird later on too, when Graham tries to console Yaz in the same way he tried consoling the General's brother last week by, telling her that lying is okay.
Yeah, but maybe she just didn't want to tell you everything.
It might have actually been cool to have one episode where it's just one of the companions and the Doctor, spice things up a bit maybe, but no, the two blokes get dragged along even though there is once again nothing connecting them to this story. Something more integral this week though was the monsters. I thought they looked cool, even if a bit too resembling of the Daedra Karma in Skyrim, but it was cool how they were bold and couldn't care less about the Doctor being there. It was interesting that she was just prejudiced in thinking that they wanted to wreak havoc. But apart from that, I'm very meh about them. Their Harry Potter style teleporting looked really cheap, and when the Doctor, Ryan and Prem warp into the hive or whatever, there's alien language on the screen. The TARDIS is translating Punjabi, but not the words on the screen, people. One more general comment I have about the quality of the episode though is in relation to the acting. I don't normally talk about this as it's subjective as hell, but this week I thought it was particularly bad, especially from the two brothers.
But we agreed. Okay, get in. I love you, brother. But you're wrong.
The maps were leaked weeks ago. I got one from my sources.
You sound like a 21st century paranoid conspiracy theorist who likes Harry Potter. So the rest of the story was weird, wacky, and very annoying. Why they needed narration over the section where Prem sees the assassins during the war escapes me, as it narrates exactly what we see in front of us. Back in the forest, that is totally not the same forest as the one in The Woman Who Fell to Earth, Ryan says,
"But the Doctor said get out of the forest, come on."
And they return to Umbrians, where the assassins have shown up. The Doctor explains away her plan to the assassins, which I thought was kind of stupid of her, but these guys were good in the end, so it doesn't really matter. If her plan was to exile them from the barn, though, why didn't she just do it as soon as they appeared? Why the need for chit-chat when only 2 minutes ago this exact same conversation played out? Then for some reason the sonic plot advancer doesn't quite do the job this time, so she instead asks her friends to find some things that are on her big list of shit. Needed for... science? I'm so confused. My brain hurts.
And a biscuit.
Why a biscuit?
I love biscuits.
You haven't used that function of the TARDIS since episode 1. I demand more biscuit dispensing, please. So instead of showing any of the characters collecting all the stuff the Doctor asked them to get, we suddenly jump over potential humour and they've got all the stuff. No, but seriously, Chekhov's gun, anybody? No? Just Google it. Later on, there are what I'll call two children's sleepovers. Boys and girls separated, very boring stuff here that just reinforces everything we know already. Some more cringy acting later, and for some reason the Doctor just flip-flops on the idea of messing with history once again. She's totally okay with initiating the marriage of Yaz's grandmother to somebody who isn't Yaz's grandfather. Amazing. Incredible. I love Doctor Who. The Doctor then gets slung back over to the Thajarians' base, and for some reason they just explain away their motive to her, which is tit for tat, I suppose. Apparently they're around to honour everyone who dies alone, and they're presumably collecting the essence of people that die alone and keep it in a jar? What's honourable about that? We then have a random rabble rant from Prem, who's all like, I don't like fighting, where Graham proclaims him to be a good man and starts getting all emotional because, oh yeah, Prem's gonna be mincemeat like his wife real soon. Oh, I really shouldn't laugh.
I'm going to be the first woman married in Pakistan.
Like we didn't know that already, Captain Obvious. I also loved watching Yaz's tear just drop right off her face, almost as though somebody just had a pipette prepared for this very shot. When Umbrian's family start their escape, I guess, Yaz finds a map of the world. Umbrian at one point put her finger on somewhere random and picked Sheffield of all places as her desirable destination. Can you imagine if she'd just pointed to the Pacific Ocean and was like, yeah, I'm gonna go there? This could possibly be the most nitpicky thing I've ever had a problem with on this show, but I'm gonna moan about it anyway. Firstly, bullshit. Is Sheffield actually marked on a map of the world? Secondly, your finger is probably about the size of England on that map anyway, so why didn't you just say your finger landed on England? Finally, why would you move to the UK? The place that you said, or failing that somebody in your immediate family said, cracked your country in two. Following this, I'm not even kidding dudes, I howled with laughter when I saw Vanish and his posse rolling up to Prem's palace. The music, the slow motion, the facial expressions, just a total cringe fest. Prem tries reassuring his wife that all's gonna be okay and that they need to flee north. Umbrian kisses him and I shit you not, we get reaction shots of Team TARDIS standing around looking really awkward. It goes on for so long. Then, to climax the whole affair, Prem says a line that is literally the best pun I've heard all year.
These are demons I have to face alone.
What? You mean the demons of the Punjab? Then Prem needs his own badass walking sequence outside his house to make him look all hard. Again, total cringe fest, and the women escape. Then the doctor and friends run from the house, meaning that the women didn't stop and think, we just left our house running for our lives in the hands of a bunch of people we just met. Shouldn't we urge them to escape to the north with us? Nah, apparently they just jumped ship and forgot that a bunch of Brits, the potential instigators of their misery, were hanging around their crib. The thing that we knew would happen happens, and we're back in the TARDIS after a long, hard day of adventuring. To top the rest of this garbage off though is Yaz meeting up with her nan again. Firstly, I don't know why they keep calling each other Betty, but if you at home watching this know what it means, please leave a comment below because Google Translate failed in aiding me. I also need to find out because by the end of the story I was under the impression that this old bin had just forgotten her own granddaughter's name, and then the credits roll with that stupid music playing behind it again. And breathe, Harry. Just take it slow, okay? Come on, it's time to take your meds. So, did it suck? It's another resounding yes from me, guys. Sorry. This episode is boring, with more needless Graham and Ryan and an unbearably large amount of terrible acting slapped on top. I'm happy they tackled this subject, but it feels like one of these great idea, poor execution episodes of the show. Despite the faintly woven themes of identity and nationality are there, the overdependence on dialogue to tell this story and various other issues spoil an episode that appears cheap and mocking to a modern audience. I hate to say it, but Moffat was right. I give Demons of the Punjab a 2 out of 10. Sorry about the delay, I'm back from a short holiday. This week's episode will be reviewed on time, this time. Check out the Discord server, link is in the description. I'm thinking of booting up my Instagram page again with just random pieces of art I make on MS Paint, because I tend to do that for some reason. Who knows, maybe I'll just make another account. Bye! What's your major?